their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this university, city, and this region. Okay, so welcome everyone. It's the first Guild Council of 2026, and it's the second meeting, of course, the 57th Guild Council. So members present, we've got Dylan, Noor, Hadia, Tani, Max, Finn, Joanna, Vivi, Bridget, Emily, myself, Ebony, Suhaila, and I believe, and Hamida. And apologies, we've got Morgan. And I will say that Dal Lee, also known as Shrek, has sort of resigned from their position at Guild Council. And there's no one absent, so that's great. Great way to start. So item number 3 now, disclosure of any potential or perceived conflicts of interest. Are there any potential or perceived conflicts of interest? Yes. Noor, as I'll let you walk back.
So Shan, AC. I have a conflict with the motion 6.3 National Union of Students KPIs. I'm a national executive for the national.
I have a conflict of interest with the same motion. I'm the state branch. Oh my God, branch vice president of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yep, Dylan.
I'd like to propose that the members be allowed to stay and vote on the NUS KPIs.
Motion is that the members with the conflict of interest be allowed to stay in the meeting and vote on that motion. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Ebony. Dylan and Ebony, do you want to speak on that motion first or seconder? No. Anyone else want to speak? No. All those in favour? All those against? Motion's carried. Item number 4, minutes of the previous meeting and circular resolutions. Item 4.1, previous meeting minutes. We have a motion that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the previous meetings held on the 20th of November 2025 and the 1st of December 2025 as a true and accurate record of proceedings at those meetings, moved by Noor. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Hadia. Noor and Hadia, would you like to speak on that motion? No. Anyone else would like to speak on the motion of the minutes? No. Okay, we'll go to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. All right, we'll move to item 5, which are the reports and KPIs. So we'll start with the President's report and KPIs. Dylan, both of yours were submitted. Would you like to speak to them?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Welcome back, everyone. It's fantastic to have you all here. And I think it's been a really fantastic start to the year for the Guild. We ended last year in a very strong position in terms of the Guild's stature as an organisation, recording an 83% Guild satisfaction rating, which is up 5% on the year before. And I think that's just a testament to the incredible work that our Guild reps last year and the Managing Director and staff did and put into the Guild. This year presents a lot of opportunities, and I think it also presents a lot of challenges for the Guild and the university space, higher education in general in this country. We are currently in a state at the university where there is protected industrial action being undertaken by the NTEU, and there's a bargaining process in place there. This has resulted in some classes being cancelled. The Guild has remained in contact with the university and, importantly, with the NTEU, and following on from the motion that was passed last year at Representation Board, continues to stand in solidarity with staff seeking to improve working conditions, as we do believe that these will improve student learning conditions. We're eager to see the university sit down with the union and come to an agreement that will minimise disruption to students. Obviously, these are long negotiations. We want to see them solved. We want to see casualisation tackled head on. We want to see workloads tackled head on as well, so that we're not going to see instances like what happened last year where the Fair Work Commission found that in the humanities department, the workload conditions were at a state where for staff to be able to provide students with the support that they required, that they weren't able to do that within the hours allocated, which led to the comment from management at the university that these was simply gold plating service, which is something I'm sure all of us here would like to see more of, but would like to see staff adequately supported in order to do that and provide that support, which makes such a big difference for students. There is obviously still high-level discussion around the WA University's review. A decision could be made basically at any point at the moment. And I think that it would be prudent for us as a Guild Council to remain engaged and worried about the potential outcomes of that review, including the possibility, which has not been ruled out, of a three-way merger between Curtin University, the University of Western Australia and Murdoch University as well, which is something that the Guild is very worried about. I believe that students are fundamentally opposed to, and is something that if that happens, we will need to engage and run a very large campaign to counter that, which is a big worry for all of us. The important thing to note is that any mergers of universities will involve mergers or amalgamations or takeovers of the Guild. We are the governing body of the Guild, so this is a conversation that directly affects us as an institution as well, and are very keen to continue those conversations, and perhaps can do so in general business at the end of the meeting, and provide a bit of an update on that as to where we're up to at the moment. We're seeing a huge rise in the far right in this country. This obviously culminated in the horrific attempted terror attack that we saw on Invasion Day in the city. We need to make sure that as a guild that attends protests, that we're doing so in a safe manner. And we've provided wraparound support and access to counselling for all members of the guild who were there in their guild capacities. We were running a stall which included giving out some water, some signs, things of that nature. And we've put out a statement in support of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people at this time and always, and are working closely with our new First Nations officer to make sure that we're always keeping that in mind and are on standby in order to do that. We're monitoring closely the proposed university scorecard system, which is coming from the Special Envoy for Anti-Semitism and the Royal Commission into Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion. We've got a situation where legitimate concerns about institutional ties to a country that is what the UN is saying is committing a genocide is now being linked with horrific violence that we saw at Bondi. And we need to make sure that we don't accept the premise of that the right to protest is protected, and that the right for students and citizens and anyone in Australia and around the world to be able to stand up and say, I don't think this is right, and I'm going to do something about it, is protected. We're seeing laws put in place here in Western Australia, which I think is going to start to erode that right here in WA. And this is something that the Guild needs to be not just cognizant of, but actively working to push that back. I'm pushing quite heavily internally amongst the President's group of the National Union of Students around a coordinated approach to this. And I believe we're going to meet on Monday to discuss this and to make sure that as a student union movement, we are pushing back on this and have a coordinated approach that isn't going to work against each other, but is going to complement individual actions. And as a guild that ran an encampment, we have a particular responsibility, I think, to stand up now and to communicate and to defend the rights for students to do that. I know there are a lot of support from within the academy here at the university for that. And we're having those conversations around what that support means and how that can be materialised, and that we can actually push back against this really regressive thinking. I apologise for the long report because it obviously encompasses quite a big chunk since last November, but I will sort of shift a little bit just towards the operations of the guild. Momentum within the guild, I think, remains really strong. We're progressing major capital works throughout the guild precinct. This includes building new equity spaces, expanding student assist facilities, and planning for tavern and GC Central refurbishments. During the temporary Musala closure, we stepped in and established a dedicated prayer space within our precinct to ensure that students were supported in the lead up to Ramadan. And I also just want to call out Tani's incredible work on Ode Week, and at the toga that happened. I think we've had record engagement, which is keeping up with that momentum, but I think we've met that. There's been a lot of movement within guild staff from the events area, but I think that there was an absolutely flawless execution of these events, and I think demonstrated and put our best foot forward for new members coming in and being engaged with the guild. I had so many fantastic conversations with students at Toga about the guild. I think this is a great place for us to grow from, because I think we're out there, we're visible. We've obviously got improved satisfaction ratings. People are comfortable to come up and tell me what they think, whether that's good or bad or suggestions. I hope that's the same for other guild reps as well, and keen to work on engaging councillors and engaging with the broader community moving forward on that. One of the things that I will call out as well, just because Morgan isn't here, is that we have expanded some food security initiatives. This includes partnership with Kurt Nutrition and Dietetics. So there was a volunteer cook-up, essentially, where they delivered 93 ready-made nutritional meals, which are now frozen and supplementing the guild pantry. There'll be further cook-ups planned throughout the year, but there was a great showing from that, and Morgan put a lot of work into making sure that that got done. And I think demonstrates some really good opportunities for us to be thinking of in the future, is how we can engage at that faculty level, at that course level, to have it so that students are not just doing projects, but they're doing projects that contribute to student life here on campus as well. So very keen to hear more ideas. Again, apologies for the large report. There's a lot to cover off on, but I'll leave it at that. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, yeah, lovely to hear the food security by Morgan. I would like to further congratulate them on that. I always love some food work being done. Yeah, any questions? I'll go Emily first, and I'll go Bridget.
Yeah, I think it's really good that like what Dylan said, and like the kind of position of rejecting the kind of premise of the Royal Commission into anti-Semitism and social cohesion, and then also the hate speech laws, because I think, yeah, from the outset, it's been a kind of attempt to like bash the Palestine movement and nothing to do with anti-Semitism or racism. I think it's pretty clear when you see who were the ones advocating for it, like Pauline Hanson or Susan Ley, or, you know, like some of the kind of biggest spewers of racism out there, like Rupert Murdoch and stuff. So I think, yeah, it's right to reject all that and not concede to that kind of premise. So yeah, and I think particularly as the Royal Commission is kind of shaping up not to be just an attack on the Palestine movement, but also like it seems to be like it's going to be a witch hunt, not against just the Palestine movement and the left, but also Muslims and migrants. And I think this kind of paired with the past couple of weeks of really extreme rise in Islamophobia, both, you know, the kind of hysteria around the so-called ISIS brides, women just trying to flee Syria. And that's been, pushed by Albanese. Yeah, it's really disgusting kind of depiction of women and children that are just trying to get have a right and to come back to Australia, and have been bashed by both Labor, Liberal and the right. And then also like Pauline Hanson's disgusting comments about there being no good Muslims. So I think that, it's right that this guild rejects kind of all of that and doesn't concede to the idea that there's anything racist about our movement, but, especially when it's people like Pauline Hanson that are making the claims. I guess I just had a question about, because you mentioned that you want to push back against like the attacks on free speech and the right to protest and stuff. I can't remember exactly what you said, like at an NUS meeting or something. Was there like a particular thing, like a protest or a particular thing like you had in mind? Or yeah, I just kind of feel like it would be helpful to have more of a sense of what you were planning to do in that regard, because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I really want to hear what other unions are thinking as a starting point, because I don't think that is clear, and that worries me, because I want to make sure that we're on the same page, where if we come under attack, if the UCSRC comes under attack, if other unions come under attack, UQ Union, for example, UMSU at Melbourne, unions that backed in varying degrees this kind of action comes under attack. We need our partners or comrades, I hope they're comrades, to stand with us. So in WA, that means, we need ECU, we need UWA to stand with us in these regards. We need Murdoch to stand with us. We need all of our unions to stand up and say, regardless of whether or not we did this, by definition, this is something that needs to be defended and supported. So I want to hear what other people are thinking. I want to coordinate an approach, because from the conversations I'm having, I don't think we're too far apart, but I'm spoken to everyone. Yeah, other unions, yeah. I haven't spoken to everyone, and ideally we would get some things on paper. That may need to change as things like the Royal Commission develop. If it takes a particular bent down a particular area, we may need to make our messaging in that area stronger. But we need to be clear from now. I'm a little upset that it hasn't happened yet, because the Royal Commission's already had its first hearing. This is underway. The report's going to be out it's going to be an interim report by the end of April. And then there will be a final report by the end of the year. So this is something we need to be engaging with very fast. It needs to be through the NUS, but also outside of it, because I do think that there will be a moderating nature. And I think, there's obviously different levels of moderation in messaging that already exists on this campus. I think there will be a moderation of that at a NUS level. So we as a guild and other unions that do feel more strongly need to make sure that we're not undermining the broader point, but that we're also putting our own case forward as well. So yeah, I think we need to have those discussions. I think there is a little bit of debate around whether the premise of the Royal Commission, of the envoy into anti-Semitism, that entire premise may have some valid points in there, and I think that's a discussion that we need to have, and I haven't had that opportunity yet, but hopefully I can report back by next council how those conversations go and we actually have something in place.
Okay. Sorry, just to clarify, when you say debate, as in like you're not sure if other campuses are on side, but like your position is kind of that it's like a witch hunt of the Palestine movement. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Bridget.
In December, I saw a couple of videos on Jason Clares and Sunita Maskianis' Instagram with you and multiple guild reps, including most of exec, and also in guild t-shirts. Can you explain more about like what happened during that? Like, was this during working hours? Did you have any dialogue with Jason Clare? And why wasn't it included in your report, if so?
I believe it was included in the report. I apologise if that wasn't the case. Is that this report? It may have been in the report from late last year. I can't remember when that actually happened. I did post about it on LinkedIn for those that are on there. But yeah, no, this was a visit that happened to the Guild from the Education Minister. That happened at the time that he did a John Curtin Prime Ministerial Library speech in the down the south of campus. So that was coordinated there. And yeah, there was a bit of a forum and a discussion that was had there, and we met with them. But yeah, I haven't intended to obfuscate that. That's public. Yeah. And a good opportunity, I would say. Like, I think that the Guild being put forward, I know there's differing opinions on the importance of political engagement, but I do think that that is extremely important, that we are engaging with the ministers that are making these discussions. And I think we had a frank conversation about the pressures that are facing students. This includes cost of living, it includes other matters. But yeah, that happened during last year's reporting period, so it would have been included in those reports, not this year's report. Okay, I'll find the exact date that happened if need be.
Yeah, I can confirm it isn't in this report, but it might be in previous reports. Yeah. Okay, I'm just hearing from Emily that it is in it happened in October. Is that what it is? Yeah, okay, happened in October. So outside of this council minutes. Any other questions on Dylan's report or no? Yeah.
Can we have an update on the housing campaign?
Yes, it is continuing. We've got the results back from the Make Renting Fair WA survey that we ran, and as a result of that, I think it's not been as high on my list to get done, and I'm keen to work through how we can get it done in terms of going through those results and producing something to come out of that. The engagement with Make Renting Fair WA has been a little bit tricky due to various leave periods overlapping and the sort, and they're quite an under-resourced campaign. On the broader point, the broader Make Renting Fair WA sent out an update recently, which included that there will be, at least the state government's committed to there being reform of the RTA this year. And it's our understanding that that will include looking at student housing, boarders and lodgers in terms of legislative reform, which is obviously a big part of our engagement and why the Guild initially engaged with Make Renting Fair WA, I believe, back in 2023, if not before then. So yeah, I'm seeking to re-engage with them at the moment. There's a complaint that was made to me this week about conditions in a Vickery House unit where there was a burst pipe, it appears, that was falling, like water was sort of dripping directly onto a power switch that was causing sparking and the like. This is something we've followed up, and I've sent that through to the university's Director of Accommodation and Community Services and University Health and Safety. We've not got a fantastic response yet, but we're investigating how we can escalate that perhaps beyond just the university, because I think there are maintenance problems here that could cause larger issues in the future and potentially cause a big health and safety issue for students. But it's a case of building off of that and engaging with students. So what we need to do now is engage with obviously a new cohort of students that have just moved in, make them aware. We've printed off a bunch of magnets, fridge magnets, which basically outline the Guild stance on housing, also provide links to Student Assist, different support services that we have. So planning to get those distributed out to all of at least the older units fairly soon, which will just be a good place for people to know that they can reach out to the Guild when problems arise, and then we can go from there. But yeah, we certainly need to be bedding down, and I think having this campaign under a name and under a particular brand, I think would be quite helpful moving forward. So eager to work with you on that.
I just want to ask sort of a clarifying question. You say that it's not high on your list to get things done, and you say that one of the main things that you're doing is handing out pamphlets describing the Guild's position, I don't see in particular how that's going to get AC in rooms or how that's going to help make the situation better tangibly. What are you planning to do to make a tangible difference in the housing accommodation?
You're welcome to join us in the campaign, David. I've not seen you rock up. I've not seen you door knock on anyone's doors. But no, I think it's a valid question, but I think it means that it needs to be beyond just me, right? At the moment, the housing campaign does fall on my desk at the moment, and I've got a hell of a lot of other things to do. So sometimes when urgent things pop up, things like going through survey data doesn't, it's just something that can get pushed back to a certain extent. It's obviously been a period where there's not been a lot of people in housing. There's obviously some people. So yeah, look, I mean, we're out there. We've been more active than we have ever before. And we just need to go from there. So yeah, welcome to join us.
Happy to. Yeah, happy to get the info. Yeah, Ebony?
Can we make sure it's in the minutes for that David Phillips is offering his help for the housing campaign?
Happy for that to happen.
Great. Another just follow up. I was aware of what happened at Vickery, or the complaint that was made. Have we received any sort of response from the university about that?
Yeah, it was a generic response. I don't want to discuss too openly, like in a meeting that will be recorded, what we want to do in terms of next steps, because I don't want the university to preempt that, but we're looking at how we can do to escalate that. Basically came back, I mean, Dean will always CC Vernon into the emails back to me, which I'm not sure why that happens, but Vernon's across it. It was essentially, I've been aware of it. It's fixed. I'll get some more information, but we've not got any more information as of yet. So I'm working quite closely with Andrew, who's the student assist manager, on what we do in terms of next steps. But I do think in situations like this, obviously aircon's a health and safety issue. Potential risk of electric shock is a very different level. So that's something that I think we're going to take quite seriously as well. And these students were quite distressed about the whole situation. One of the quite distressing points of it, which I made clear and we've not had anything back about, is that the Unilodge sent them an email afterwards saying you shouldn't have called 000. This delayed everything much further because Western Power came, and it's like, if you're a student who's a resident and you think the building might burn down or you might get an electric shock, I would say calling 000 is not something that should be discouraged. So I think there does need to be a broader review of this entire incident, but also the fact that these residents said that they've reported leaks for a period of time in the same building and it's not been fixed. So now it's resulted in this. So I think there certainly needs to be more digging. The Guild sits on the University Health and Safety Committee as well. So there's a few avenues for us to raise this internally as well as externally.
Thanks, Dylan. Yep.
Hello, Dylan. I just have a question on your president report about parking thing. I just want to speak up for Twin Dolphin and St. Cat's resident for the parking issue. Because of the hockey center closure, we have around 600 bays closure, and I think I searched it up, and it's around nearly 1,000 residents in Twin Dolphin and St. Cat's, and we are all using the 100 bays downstairs of IGA. And so other than that, parking downstairs is always need to drawings, parking lot. And so if we don't get that, we need to park outside of it. And as the base all closure, and it will make some pressure for the resident to park because we're not doing transportation to campus, but we still need a place to park our car. And I just want to know what's your stand and what can we do as a guild for this issue?
Yeah, so my stance is we need to build more parking. The position that was passed at the last reps board is that also to try and alleviate some parking pressure, we're going to be advocating for, and we did last year, but the Transport Minister said no. So we're going to have to keep pushing. Too busy building racetracks. For there to be an express bus from Canning Bridge Station direct to Curtin and then onwards to Oat Street. So, because that can take a long time at the moment. I think one of the tricky things about a bus, though, is that it gets stuck in traffic as well. And I don't like the traffic around campus has been shocking lately. That's a result of some construction happening. It's a result of just like people not being able to find a car park, so it backs up all the way. So I think there's really tricky situations there. I think that Curtin needs to build a multi-deck car park, and it needs to invest in that, and it needs to say, look, this is going to be expensive, but it will lead to more students getting to class, staff being able to come in, particularly casual staff who have different places of work and they need to get in at particular times. So that's something that we need to do. Hadea is taking on parking broadly as a campaign, has done some stuff around some of the overflow parking bays recently. I think there are more opportunities for overflow bays to be opened up, but I'm keen to do anything creatively to make it better. But the fact is there's not enough car parks for the amount of people that need to park their cars. It's very easy for the university to say, take public transport. It doesn't work for everyone. Just in how time works, work commitments, those kinds of things. One of the really, I think, a successful thing at the moment is the launch of Curtin Link. So I'm interested to see some data soon around what the uptake of that is and the amount of people using it. I see them around quite a bit. Obviously, that's only for a particular area though. So that's why I think something like an express bus would be very good at making access to campus better for people across the board. But yeah, I'm keen to hear your ideas and work with and come up on an advocacy plan moving forward. I think we've made some good movement. I mean, there's going to be, which I think will particularly benefit students at St. Cat's, Twin Dolphin, other residencies. There'll be 2 free parking weeks this year. So I got that last year sitting on the parking insights forum. There's an expansion of food for fines. So it was previously 2 times a year. Now it's 4 times a year. Hopefully next year we can make it so that it's year round. So you can donate. Half of the donations go to the guild pantry, but it will waive your fine. So reduce the burden of what those fines cost. The introduction of Curtin Link's really good. So there are things happening, but I don't think it's enough. And I don't think it's fair for the universities sort of, I think at the end of the day, they'll say, we've done enough, but sorry, there's not much more we can do. And that's, we've got to change that narrative and say that actually you need to do that if you want students to be coming onto campus or to be living on campus.
Yeah, Ebony?
Just to add on that, you asked for ideas. I don't know if this would be your portfolio of ideas, but if there were, I know last year we tossed up the idea of having or advocating for permits for students who are paying for student accom. You know, like there's, you know, for example, if I was, you know, living in one room and paying for parking, which would make a difference of $30 to $50 a week if I was parking in blue or yellow, compared to the next person who has one of these like free bays, like it's an equity issue as well, considering like you're both paying the same amount of rent. I think it would be unfair for us, for the university to turn around and, you know, say, okay, yeah, everyone has to pay. But like if there was some sort of way we could push uni or the university to subsidize parking or even like get some sort of permit, you know, say we acknowledge that you guys pay quite a significant amount in rent. So we're going to ensure that you have a free parking bay, for example. I think that would be a cool avenue to explore.
Debbie, go for it.
To add on to the Vickery House stuff, I've heard consistent complaints throughout last year, and a lot of them are still the exact same. And even though there are so many talks of like trying to encourage Curtin to fix the housing situation specifically for Vickery, I haven't really heard of any outcomes or notable outcomes. I have a few classmates and acquaintances who are in Vickery, and I just keep on hearing the exact same complaints or even new complaints. I was wondering if our current approach is effective or not. And then also, just so then I can like get it out of the way, in your report, when you talk about the multi-story car park, you say that the guild is planning for that. Has Curtin actually approved of it? And are there, like, I guess, processes that have been dated that will happen? Or is it just like a general idea so far? And then I guess I'll leave it at that.
On the second point first, because I think the first one will have a slightly longer answer. So yeah, like that's something I advocated for last year. And I think even Vernon's had discussions with the university on this. The current position of the university, and they've got this on their website, their FAQs, is that they won't build a multi-deck car park. It costs too much. I do think there's a weaponization of the environmental impacts of cars that are being used here as well. I think we've got to hit the reality of where students and we're in a very car dependent city here in Perth. So yeah, there's a lot of things that could change to reduce pressures. But I think without handling that supply and demand side, it's hard to move around the deck chairs and expect different outcomes. There's still more people that need to park than there are available bays. So yeah, like the university said no to that. That's something that we've pushed forward. We'd be keen to hear your thoughts, and maybe we can take it offline around how far we go down that route of advocating that. Or I think with most things that happen at the university, if the guild takes a position for a long enough time and we believe in it, it'll eventually happen. It's just about timing. The university is doing a lot of big construction stuff at the moment, so I don't know if they want to spend that much money on it. That's no reason for us to stop trying. But in any case, even if Curtin said tomorrow we've changed our mind, it will still probably be well over a year until that car park is open. So we also need to figure out what we can do in the here and now as well. On the point around Vickery, I think we do need to take a different approach, and on student housing in general. But it's important that we are engaging with, and I think a portion of our issue at the moment is around the level of engagement and how much students who live in housing want to contribute to a campaign. So I'm eager to talk with you around how we can best do that. I'm keen to set up a housing campaign sort of steering group that can push it forward, so that we've got continual momentum behind it and that we're consistently engaging with students that live in housing. But yeah, we need to take that focus on this year and engage with students on the ground and get their support, because I've had the same experience. There's a lot of students that will come to me and want to talk about it. But what we need is to get those students to, write to the Vice Chancellor to engage with the campaign in that. So what can we do to make that easier for them? These are all things that I'm keen on doing. I have been looking into different campaign tools that we can use. There are things that we can do. So maybe we schedule a time to sit down and can actually sort of map this out and plan it out moving forward.
Yep, I'm happy to do that. And then last thing, it's smaller, but for the overflow parking, so that's our temporary solution right now, which is great. And this is a bit hard with feasibility, but there are many people who can't use those overflow bays because of I'll just reference the main one I can think of, which is the one on the grass area. some cars are actually too low. And then I know someone who actually tried parking there, and then they actually got like a severe like car, like I don't know, something at the bottom, like yeah, it just like went loose because the curb is too high. And again, it's a bit hard to go around that since there's only so many places you can make like a car park. But I just wanted to bring that concern up.
Yeah, certainly something we've heard. I think that if that space is going to be used as sort of a long-term temporary car park, for lack of a better term, something like making it so that that curb is lowered so that you can drive in and out like a normal driveway would be quite reasonable. I think we can certainly raise that with the university. I think if that's going to be used, what the big argument the university makes also against temporary parking is, it's just a couple of weeks of pressure and then we ease off and there's less, obviously that's stretching further and further into the semester anyway. Things like parking on the grass obviously has visible impacts on the grass and the lawns and that kind of stuff and wear and tear they need to deal with. But I don't foresee a situation where that like having temporary parking on the grass doesn't exist for at least the next few years. So what can we do to make that better for people? Because I think, a lot of people are going to use it.
Thank you. And I would also like to mention that temporary parking bays can obstruct the disc golf course as well. So just for those students that use that disc golf course, I think it's important that we keep in mind that they will like to use some of those areas as well.
Do we going to close it?
Sorry?
You want to close it?
Close what?
Parking.
No.
Or move the disc golf.
No, well, yeah, that would be a great option
Okay.
if they could move.
I'd give that one to
18.
Hadia too.
I just had to, I also represent the students and the students brought that concern, so I thought I'd bring that up as well. Anyway, are there any other questions? Go for it, Emily.
I just had a question about the merger that was mentioned. Is it likely? Do we know anything outside of like what's been said in previous meetings? What is the time frame if it is likely? Just I feel like some of that information would be helpful.
A lot of that I don't know, but there is some stuff that I can and am happy to share, but maybe can do in general business, and then we can just go on camera so that people don't know what we're thinking.
Any other questions or comments on Dylan's report? We'll move on to the Vice President Education's report. Dylan can breathe. Dia, your report and and your KPIs were submitted. I don't think Dylan, you really need to talk about your KPIs, but anyway. I think we'll move on for the minute. Dia, your report KPIs were submitted. Would you like to speak to them?
Yeah, I would. I think I'd just like to start with parking. I feel like one of the biggest things about Curtin, what were we talking about? I was like,
That's absolutely fair. Absolutely fair.
One of the biggest things about Curtin and that I always thought was so great is that we had such good parking. I used to go to UWA. I used to think it was the worst that I had to wait 30 minutes to find parking, pay $15 to find parking. And now I feel like the condition at Curtin is actually pretty bad. You have to still go around for 30 minutes and sometimes you park at Blue and end up paying over $15. I do think it's something that we can hold the uni and the government to an account. I feel like if we make enough noise and we get and have a big enough campaign, I feel like we can have some change. So that is definitely a big concern. And also, I really agree with Dylan's point about the overflow parking. I think it would be good to maybe look into going into a deal with the uni because right now it's still yellow and that's still up in the air. And I think it would be, if it's going to stay around, might as well have, if you're going to have overflow parking, I don't know, some type of agreement, but it's definitely something to look into. And more into my report and KPIs, I spent, because last year Ben had closed most of his campaigns, there was the universal submission time. That is one of my KPIs to make sure that that sticks and that stays and is permanent for students. So I did spend a lot of the beginning of the semester trying to figure out what it is that students want, what it is that students are, some of the bigger issues that they're facing. I like to think that I found some of them. Talking to students during O Week was a really great time. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about my reports and KPIs, I would love to hear it. That's everything.
Any questions for Dia?
Oh, come on.
No? No? I think it was a flawless report. Oh, Ebony. No, it was great. No, it was actually brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's a testament to Dia.
This might be for you and Tani, and I was going to ask it after Tani's report, but since you really want a question, can you explain a bit about your plan for further engaging with the union movement? I know you and Tani have got some pretty cool plans, so love to hear about it.
Thank you for your question, Ebony. Thank you. So I feel like that is a really big part of university that a lot of students aren't informed of enough. A really big thing Tani is doing and very exciting is Careers Week that's coming up. There will be a union day and a lot of other stuff that I'm sure Tani will be able to speak to that is very exciting and very important. Alongside with that, hopefully doing something for May Day, doing a social media campaign, having stuff around campus, just making students really aware that they have unions and make them aware of like what type of union they would belong to. Also making sure that we continue inviting unions to O days and things like that, just keeping students engaged. I think it's really important. Yeah.
Great. Any further questions? Cool, great, we'll move on. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. No, go for it. Apologies, my apologies.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, just a little question, because there's like one part on your KPI I'm not really understand, sir. There's like, you said appoint a first year student representative to make sure that first year student concern are being raised with the guilds. Like, could you explain that a bit more for me?
So last year we didn't have a first year rep, but usually what we do at the guild is that we have a first year representative, and what happens is they talk to first year students, they identify issues, they bring it to the guild, and we work with the reps, and I work to make sure that those like issues are what's the word when you being addressed. Thank you. I was reading the word. The issues are being addressed. So one thing that I'm really looking into this year is having a first year rep or even having a first year committee, just making sure that they're communicating what are the issues that first year students are really facing, even just by the applications alone, because it is open and I think I've actually closed the application, but even just looking at through the application process, there are a lot of issues that it seems like a lot of first year students are facing that are very like things that I think could be fixed quite easily. And it's like a recurring issue, but yeah.
Okay, great. I believe we will move on to the Vice President Activities Report and KPIs. Tani, both your report and KPI was submitted. Would you like to speak to them?
I would love to speak to them. Apologies for my very lengthy report. I used it as an opportunity to be quite reflective, and I've been very, 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 very busy. That's why you've gotten a 7-page report from me. But wanted to just walk through a little bit my thinking of that one, but also say welcome back to any of our guild councillors returning, and a big congratulations and welcome to anyone if this is your first proper big guild council. I have many fond memories of sitting on guild council and learnt so much time as a guild councillor, so enjoy it, ask questions, it's so much fun. You have a little note from me, and I've decided just to introduce my teams because when I was guild councillor myself, I would hear engagement or events team, and I didn't really know what that meant. So that's just a little explanation there, and I won't dwell on that too much. Other than that, it has been like the biggest period for me, obviously. We had the Guild Gardens, which was our activation during O Week, which was really well attended and pretty much just a chill out space. And thank you to all the reps who let me embarrass them and dress them up every day. I do appreciate you. Speed friending, we trialed that at the TAV this year and I thought it was really successful. We're trying to pump a little bit more life back into the TAV this year. It's been a huge focus for myself, Vernon, and the new TAV manager. I've worked the last half decade in hospitality and I'm really passionate about the tavern doing well. But yeah, speed fronting in there was crazy. I was expecting about 60, 70 people, 220 people showed up, and that was insane. And the next one as well, we had to cap it around the 200 mark as well. So we had about 400 people attend speed fronting this year, which was crazy. O-Day, of course, I pretty much saw everyone there. So that was amazing. Numbers were higher than we expected. Everything this year has been the engagement from students, the first years have really come in this year and said, we want to be social, we want to be involved, we want to talk, we want to get in part of clubs. Even the engagement between the reps and the people who attended Guild Gardens just showed us that the new wave of students that come in are really here to be a part and be a really big active part of this campus community, which is really awesome to see, very happy to see. Of course, there was also Toga, a classic. A few little changes this year and a brand update. And yeah, where Katia worked really hard on that one. So that was really good to see. And that one got taken over by Tanya because we had Beck and Jess depart at the end of last year. So it's been a whole brand new team who threw out O Week. A huge shout out to Shelley as well, who was the backbone of O-Day and poured so much over time and did well beyond what was expected required of her role, and really was acting like three people at once. So my queen. As for campaigns and projects, my probably biggest one, almost one that I'd like to sort of highlight is the National Higher Education Gender-Based Violence Code. This was something that was brought up sort of at the end of last year. The little TLDR, I do have a little background in there for you guys if you do want to read it, but it is essentially each university has been have to make a policy or action plan of how they're going to deal with gender-based violence, and not only how they deal with the reporting, but how they actively stop it. That report was due, or that policy was due by Curtin at the end of last year, and they put out a draft open to community, faculty, and just open feedback. Myself and the team very quickly reviewed the policy because it was put out with a pretty quick turnaround as well, and it was vague, to say the least. And although it was an initial draft, there were some key areas that myself and the team were really concerned to not see covered, including accommodation and clubs, which are high-risk areas. And obviously keeping those students safe is a huge priority of mine, and we have a responsibility to make sure that Curtin covers those really key areas for students in their gender-based violence action plan and policy. So I will be, obviously that is only their first draft and it will go through many, but I am definitely keeping on their tail about it because it's something I'm quite passionate about. Other than that, I briefly mentioned before the tab, but we've got live music now in there that will be trialled every Friday, and quiz nights every Tuesday, which will eventually be handed off as an opportunity for clubs to run their quiz nights in there for reduced fees and with some additional benefits as well. But yeah, if you have any questions on my reports or KPIs, I would love to hear them.
I would like to say I love the formatting of your report, and I love the Toga rebranding. I thought that was actually really, really, really nice, really sick. Actually, really impressed me when I saw all those ads for it. Any comments or queries on Tani's report? Go for it, Hadia.
I just wanted to mention that I really like the photos, and they're really well appreciated.
That's why I said
But it's like we can't take photos of our meetings. Like I like that you put photos of like something with like all like academic board. Like no, I actually really appreciate it. And I really love that what you're doing with the tab, like the live music. Like that's so cute. Like that stage is there, it should be used. So yeah, that's it.
100%. Any further? Yeah, go for it, Max, and then Ebony.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of like kind of reinvigorating the TAV and reactivating it, especially for like O-Week events as such. I just want to know, have you considered, especially for events targeting first-year students, a sizable chunk, about 50% statistically of first-year students come into uni in semester one as 17-year-olds and thus are not allowed to enter the TAV. And if having too many, if you're planning to have a lot of events like move into the TAV, this can prove extremely restricting. I know I experienced this when I first started uni, and I could not attend any guild or club event for the first semester of my time here, and it was very disheartening. So is there a plan to kind of like combat that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that was the reason why when I had brought forward that I wanted to trial speed friending in the TAV, it was quintessential that we also ran another session, not in the tavern. And we understand that some people as well just don't want to attend a tavern. It's not their vibe. Maybe for religious or cultural beliefs, they don't want to be around that. And that is completely fair. So I think it is, you are right, for everything we do run in the TAV, we need to equally make sure there is something else outside the tab. So obviously sort of speed friending, one session of each. We, of course, it is not equal in any means, but of course we had Toga and then Guild Gardens, which was outside the TAV. And it is important to me to make sure that, yeah, for everyone I have in the TAV, there is one out of there as well. I know that as well. Yeah, I'll leave it there at the moment. But yes, it is important to me and I am keeping it in the back of my mind.
Yeah, go for it, Dylan.
Just on that as well, like an important part of the refurbishment of the tavern, but then all that also encompassing GC Central is to have a really high grade venue. Obviously, we've got that in Clubs Hub, but like a venue for those types of events that don't need to be around alcohol. Alcohol will be optional in there, and that'll be a great hangout spot for students that won't be in an alcohol venue as well. So I think that will open up a lot more possibilities and activate that space.
Yeah, Ebony, and then Bridget.
I just wanted to ask a little bit about club events in the TAV. So I understand that live music will be in there on Fridays now. Can you share a little bit of like an impact, like if that will have an impact on club events, and if so, what will be the sort of like communications with them? And then also, I know as like I'm a club leader myself as well, and some of the like event applications that we submit to clubs team, the main thing that if they're going to be in the TAV that's stalling them is actually hearing back from the TAV. So is there any way that we can kind of speed that up, or are you aware of it happening or anything like that?
As for the impact of the live music or the Trivia Tuesdays, obviously the Trivia Tuesdays, I'm aiming to have clubs be the ones who actually run that. But obviously that, because I think there was something like 13 of the trivia nights from clubs in the TAV last year. So the hope is to sort of streamline that and put that all on the same day. And for the live music Fridays, I believe that's running from 3:30 till 5:30 or 6:30. Okay, 6:30. Thank you, Bennett. So the clubs are welcome to run straight afterwards, and Vanessa, the new tavern manager, is really keen to have as many clubs in as possible. Obviously, she's still new to her role. As for the event bookings, I'll just touch on that briefly, that we have to do a policy review, which we're also sort of encompassing renewal and event booking processes in that this year. So we'll be reviewing pretty much any piece of paperwork that you'd have to touch as a club leader is going under review this year. And I'm looking to make it faster, more automated, easier for clubs. Of course, I've came up through clubs myself and understand that sometimes you don't want to fill out 10 pages for something simple. But yes, and these all are in the trial phase, and it will be something if we hear back people saying maybe it doesn't need to go till 6:30, maybe it only needs to go till 5:30, and we are really open to feedback, as well as clubs for the live music Friday. We have booked entertainment for the first few weeks, but I have reached out to clubs and independent artists because I would like that to be more of a community and club focused event where, for example, the Curtin Musicians Club are actually providing the entertainment on that Fridays and able to reap the benefits of being compensated for their amazing talent and be able to uplift some of the just incredible talent that is stowed away here on campus. And yeah, but open to feedback. Obviously, this is very much in the trial period.
Yep, Bridget.
I know, like last year with House Party, there was like a big, quite a few incidents where a lot of like female attendants were uncomfortable. Was there like, has that improved with Toga? Because I know the events team were talking about having like designated like safety people. I unfortunately wasn't at Toga for like scheduling conflicts, but has those like talks improved safety at TAV parties?
I was not aware of anything specific. We did, in leading up to the campaign of Toga, we did release a consent and just a general post on respect, because Morgan and I have been really focused on making messaging clear on consent this year, and it's something we're going to keep pushing, especially as well with the gender-based violence code that's come in as well. It's a huge focus for my area, and events is a high-risk space for that. I was not aware of any incidents that happened, but I haven't, not all the proper reporting has come through at this time. From what I'm aware, the event went well and there was no major incidents, but it is definitely a focus for the team. And with this gender-based violence code, we'll be looking to have our sort of procedures pretty set in stone with that.
Yeah, go for follow-up.
A good idea, because I know they're trialing it in like the city and Northbridge. The Guild adopt the Ask for Angela campaign. So could this be something?
It definitely could be. I love the idea. I was just opening my note app because I was like, damn, that's good. But I can pass that on to Vanessa, who I think would be very keen to have that as well. If you guys haven't met Vanessa, she's awesome. Go say hi. But I will pass that one on to her for you. And I think it's definitely worth us having. I've seen different bars doing different names and stuff now so that they're not recognised. So, you know, maybe we have asked for Mr. Gildington or whatever. But yes, I'll pass that on to the tab manager for you.
Okay, any other further questions or, yep, Ebony?
I just wanted to say that you are doing a great job this far. Like, you've been super involved with reps. Like, I know, like, I'm also a rep as well, and the initial email that we got at the start of this the semester to say, this is what you do if you want to run an event, this is what you do, this is who you go to, this is what everything that you need to do. It made running a stall at O-Day seamless. Like, it was fabulous. You're super hardworking, and yeah, I just wanted to highlight the engagement that you've had with other reps. So you're doing a great job, Tani. O-Week was awesome.
Thank you for that comment. Yeah, and that's also something I've been, it's part of my KPIs, but was to have a new booking system for reps to run events. I just noticed a bit of a lack in some money we put aside for reps to run events and run campaigns and be able to work on things in their term, and just seeing it not being used to its full capacity made me a little bit sad. So I'm doing a big push for reps to be more out there, be more visible, run your events, use that campaign money. It's why it's sitting there. And yeah, so, but all the reps are amazing and super receptive as well. So it's good to hear that feedback.
Okay, great. No other questions or comments. I'll move to the next report, which is the Vice President's Sustainability and Welfare's report. I'll take that as read. Yeah, I believe as Morgan is an apology, although I'm sure that if anyone had any questions, they could email Morgan, or Morgan could answer them next meeting if you so wish. So I'll move on to Secretary report. So Noor, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
I definitely have the least exciting job out of the entire out of all, but yeah, so it's been a while since last saw all of you at the induction, so it's good to see you all again. Had a little bit of time away due to an internship, but now fully back into it. My main focus for this year will be updating any constitution. So we've got some constitutions that we should probably be reviewing, like WASM, which will be up first, as well as policies and just various rule books that are either up for review or just generally need an update. So like Tani said, the clubs one is a really, really big one. If there's anything that comes across your desk that you're not happy with or you have input, I would love to hear it, because there's obviously so many documents. Like I don't know what's in everything. So if you have any input, I'm really keen to hear it. Setting up the ICPC by-elections, which had to wait for teaching weeks. So that will be filled either this week or next week. Pending that and any other gaps. So we obviously had a step down in GC, so need to fill that vacancy, and some other issues with governance happening in WASM, hopefully to be sorted out by the end of this week. All in all, I'm really, really proud of the entire executive and all the reps for all the work they've done so far. Everyone has hit the ground running, and I just hope that, we keep this momentum throughout the year. I'll be working with Vernon as well, with our professional staff to kind of ensure our governance upstairs to help the representing part of this job happen smoothly and easily. And yeah, keep it up. Please don't ask questions.
Great. Ebony,
Can you ask
go for it.
if you have them?
Okay. Any comments? Secretary report. Hadia, go for it.
Exciting to hear all of the changes you want to make to.
Excited about the reg change.
Yes, it's exciting. Okay, I think it's exciting. And I was just reading about like the governance officer, like introduced and then currently vacant, and just wondering if you could maybe expand on that and like what their role is and like how them like leaving is like currently affecting
Yeah.
workload and stuff.
So the role of governance officer was put out last year and was filled early this year, late last year. Yeah. So not too long ago, and essentially the role of governance officer will be there as a middleman between sort of secretary, MD, and any of our professional staff or other departments that need consulting on things like policy, like how we implement policy. A big one is our election process, just to give us advice and help us feel confident about the decisions we make. Our guild has proper governance in every aspect. It's just to put that all together and have a system that can be coordinated easily and accessed easily. That was what we felt the lack was in. Add to that if you want, Brennan. But yeah, so we've got a vacancy in the governance officer either now or coming up, and we're hoping to find a solution for this as soon as possible. We'll be working with Vernon to liaise and find a solution. We'll see what happens next, but yeah.
Vernon, did you want to add to that or?
No, I think that was summed up well. We had made an appointment 5 weeks ago, and yeah, just to reiterate, the governance officer really sits to ensure that the maintenance and upkeep of our policies are maintained in accordance with the overarching regulations that guide those, that the appropriate people are informed and included in the annual review of those. Oversight of the council election process, which is a comprehensive process, and it's imperative that that's done correctly in line with the rules that govern that, and to support development of governance by the guild, and support the secretary and the chair with the planning and execution of the council meetings is the broad scope. We appointed someone 5 weeks ago. Due to unforeseen circumstances, there may need to be a change with that appointment. Moving forward, we're working with that appointee, and I'll be working with Dylan and Nor to move forward to ensure that this position's filled appropriately.
Thank you, Vernon. There are other questions. Queries on the report. We'll go to the motion. So the motion is that the Guild Council approves the reports moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Max. Assuming Nor and Max, you don't want to speak on the motions for moving seconder? No. So all those in favour of approving the reports? All those against? That motion is carried. Now, just before I move on to, actually no, I'll do the second motion, which is that the Guild Council approves the KPIs. So that's moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder for approving the KPIs? Thanks, Hadia. Nor and Hadia, do you like to speak to the motion, moving seconder? No, great. All those in favour? All those against? That motion's carried. Now, before moving on to business on notice, I would just like to announce that if this meeting does run beyond, which I'm assuming it will, 6:55, we will break for those people who obviously undergoing Ramadan. Yeah. IT, I'm not sure. Is that still a, geez, 2026 curtain? Come on. Anyway. Yeah, whichever comes first, we will break. Okay, so we will now move to item 6, business on notice, 6.1, the safety report.
Do we get to, yeah, Vernon needs to do a report.
Oh, I apologise. Oh my goodness. Oh, no, we approved the reports of that Vernon's report. Oh,
Can we
dear.
still hear from Vernon, please?
Oh,
I have
no, no, no,
questions.
no, no, I'm going back. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's going back. We have,
Love you, Vernon.
I don't think we did that. We'll just do a separate motion, just to approve your report solely individually, I suppose. Yeah. So Vernon, your report was submitted. Happy
Yes.
for you to speak to that.
Yes, happy to take the report as read and welcome any questions. No, but I'll speak to a couple of high-level items that are included in my report. Now, I want to start by thanking our newly formed management and forming management team for their contributions to that report, because it's a team effort. But the year's had a busy start. In addition to business as usual in the day-to-day of running and supporting you guys run the guild and operate the guild, we have been continuing with the implementation of the recommendations that have come out of the organisational and commercial review. So that's been great. We're pleased as part of that commercial review, and we'll talk to that in the finance report, with the financial result of the commercial operations for 2025. So that's been really positive. Recruitment has been a big part of that organisational review activity for the start of the year, and it's been a key focus after returning from the break, and I'm pleased to advise that our new General Manager of Student Services, Moira Ainsley, commenced this week. Large portfolio that she will add strategic and administrative support capacity to the teams that fall under that area, and can also confirm the appointment of Natasha Morgan as our new General Manager of Corporate Services, who will commence on 23rd March. Again, will provide strategic and administrative support that will help those areas under our corporate services to develop, improve systems, improve processes, and support better outcomes from those areas. I won't go into too much depth, but Dylan touched on the continuation of the Guild Precinct plan. The refurbishment of level 2 of the Guild admin offices was completed, which provided additional office space for the newly appointed general managers, and also additional meeting space. The next part of the precinct plan is to convert the club's HQ into new equity spaces, and then convert the lower ground into more office and admin space, which is needed, and refurbish and improve the current student offices space on level 1 also. The biggest pace of the Guild Precinct plan that also Dylan touched on is going to be the Tavern and Cafe Central refurbishment. So the large space that is currently the cafeteria dining hall will be converted into a function space that can be used for larger club or student member events that doesn't revolve around alcohol, and be multifunctional too for different club events. Just by way of an update on those, we've commenced an RFP, which is a request for proposal process for the architectural and design phase of these projects. This RFP is scheduled to close on the 20th of March, with proposals to be evaluated, and hopefully a preferred designer appointed by 31 March. So that's the timeline for that first phase, and that's quite a significant phase. Those projects we are aiming to commence this year, with hopefully complete the Cafe Central, which is the first part of those two that we aim to do, and then with the Tavern probably running into 2027. Just on the Guild Precinct, I think it's appropriate to take the opportunity to recognise the hard work of the elected officers who removed the unsightly artificial turf from the courtside, and that would have taken some doing. So I think it looks a lot better now, and also for Tanya Della Santina and her team, who supported with a final clean-up of that space. So just wanted to recognise that. The respective department managers' reports have been embedded in the report, which I'll take as read, but welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you, Vernon. I do just have, I've got one question about the RFP. When you put that out, what exactly do you do when you put that out? Do you publish it on a website? Do you email people? How does that work? How do you get people to respond to you?
You do it in how we do this now. I've done this in the past, is in a considered manner, because it's a very specialist group that you reach out to. So we've reached out to designers that we think are of the size and capacity and have the specialised experience in commercial spots. So we handpick who we invite, and then we have in our mind the number of respondents that we have the capacity to reasonably assess and consider. And then we keep reaching out to suitably qualified respondents until we reach that number of interested parties. Because you can reach out to them and they say it might be a little bit small for them or it's not the right time for them. So we will continue and we feel we've got that. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, go for it.
I had a question from the report that the safety inspection completion dropped from 100% in November to 50% in January. So I was wondering if there has been any measures taken to ensure the inspections are now completed on time, and if there's any safety risk, measures have been taken and to ensure that aren't missed in future.
I think we might. I think just because we're talking, because I had to go back to talk about the managing director's report, I think we might wait until we get to the safety report. I know it seems like we're on the safety report, but I missed the managing director's report. So I think technically it could go under either of those, but I think it might be better. It's a great question. I think maybe we just hold off until I get to the 6.1 safety report. Is that okay? Yeah, no worries. Okay, cool. Yep, Ebony?
I was hoping you could explain the situation a little bit with Student Assist. When I've been from class and stuff, spoken to a couple of students who have shared the problem, and when I've said, "Oh, have you gone to Student Assist?" they've said yes, and they said that they either got turned away or told to go to a department with the university. I'm just concerned that there might be some students falling through the cracks at the moment, and if there's something that we can put in place to try and stop that from happening. So I'm just yeah.
I guess there'll be requirement, speaking generally, I would imagine there'll be requests for support that we're just not set up to provide, or we don't have any jurisdiction over what that resolution might be. And so I guess without speaking to the specific cases that you referred to, and please do send those through because we want to investigate those, our team is set up to be focused on being able to triage cases for those that we can support and provide guidance if we can't as to where they should go. But with respect to, I'm not aware of any cases that could be heard by us not being supported or falling through the cracks because we don't have the capacity, time or interest in supporting those. If it requires us to have a look at the suite and the capacity of the types of cases that we can support, it's certainly something we want to do to ensure that our members feel like they're being supported. But I do know, working with the Student Assist team, that they are being consciously, informing the team about what we can triage and what we can see and what we can't see, because there is a great deal of a great number of requests coming our way. We're actually going through changes too, and we're in the recruiting phase of growing the Student Assist team. And so some of the feedback I get is that the team historically spent a lot of time working through and talking to students that they can't help, but trying to explain why they can't help them, and that's eating into time with students that they possibly could help. So they're just trying to be really efficient with that. But if that's leading to students feeling that they're not being heard or getting the attention they need, then let's understand the cases and the types of cases that we might be able to look at moving forward.
Yeah. The two specifically that I'd be referring to are situations where someone could have told them to go to student wellbeing rather than being passed. They felt like they were being passed around a bit. So I feel like I understand that everyone's got like busy jobs and that sort of thing, but perhaps if there was like a bit more, I don't know whether we put a pamphlet at reception about what student wellbeing does, or if there's a bit more of a recommendation sort of process that the person at reception goes through about, hey, maybe that sounds more like a student wellbeing issue rather than just going straight to Curtin Connect. Because I do want to acknowledge that like the university does have like they've got counselling, the doctor's surgery, there's the student wellbeing, and then there's Curtin Connect. So I'm thinking possibly rather than just saying, hey, sorry, the guild's not the place, maybe just going that step further if there is capacity to do so, and say, I think you should go to X place rather than just Curtin Connect.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And if we're not doing that, that's what we should be doing. So certainly open to doing that and maybe working offline with yourself and the team to go, how do we better do this better?
Yep, Hadia.
I just wanted to add to that. I think we spoke a bit about it in Reps Board, but Student Assist was obviously looking into changing the pro forma as well. I'm not sure if that's already been put in place, but even if we have like a section at the end that's like, do you feel like you're distressed? And if the minute a student puts yes, like here's like all the stuff to student wellbeing, I feel like that would be pretty good. But maybe that new system hasn't come into place, but yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we can take this offline if you want and we can discuss this further.
Yeah, sounds good. I do have a couple of questions about the commercial side of stuff as well.
What we might do, just because I'm very aware of
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
I think we might break now for a period of 10, 15, 10 minutes. Okay, period of 10 minutes. So I'll reopen the meeting, or 11 minutes technically. Reopen the meeting at 7, now it's 10 minutes. So 7:05 p.m. is when we'll reconvene and I'll break in. I would just like to get everyone's attention. I will reopen the meeting at 7:06 p.m. Yes, I didn't stop the recording. I just turned off the mic. Yeah, we'll check. Yeah, great, cool. So I believe where we left off is Ebony was about to ask some questions to Bernard. So I'll pass it over to Ebony.
Thank you, Chair.
Like it noted that Dylan said shame.
We've said shame a lot this evening. Vernon, I want to know why when I go to Malacup, Basement, Library Cafe and Concept, every time my matcha tastes like really different at each one. And I want to ask if all of the matchas can be the same as the one that's at Malacup because it's really good.
All right. With the first part to that question, I'll have to take it on notice because I'm unsure whether the difference you're tasting is due to the product they're using or the way in which they're preparing it. So I have to confirm that. Altitude, humidity changes, all of that. So being serious, I mean, the aim is you should be getting a consistent experience at all our outlets because they're not different by design. So I will pass that on to our retail team and find that answer out and get back to you offline with that. And to the second part of that question, can they all be the same? Well, I would suggest that depends on the answer to the first part of the question. And so once we know that, we'll understand whether we can, in fact, and I'm not being funny, but if it is because whilst we provide a process to do it, different staff have different abilities in making it, then there's limited impact I can have on that. But if it is that there's different products being used because different outlet managers have a personal preference, we can intervene on that. So I'll take that offline. But
my other thing that I wanted to say was the food that's coming out of the tab is really good compared to how it used to be. Just a little nerd out about the chips and the aioli. Like there's actual garlic in the aioli now and it tastes awesome. The chips aren't just chunks of potato anymore. They're actually really crunchy, nice little chips. It's really great. The pizzas are awesome. The salads on the menu, people have also saying are really great. So, and people are excited to go back to the tab and like try different things. So it's I think all the work that's being done at the tab is going really well.
Well, thank you for that. That's really appreciated because, as Tani mentioned, we've got a new tavern manager. We've got a new, through the organisational structure, the management of the kitchens in the tavern and other outlets now have a specific food and beverage manager who is the head chef at the Cafe Central Kitchen, and I think that's having a big impact on quality. And I'm really excited because there's a new menu coming out at the tavern shortly next month, which will have new products. It'll have very cheap offerings for students only, as we have in other outlets. But it'll still have the salads, it'll still have the pizzas and all that. So we're really excited about that. But thank you for that feedback.
Thank you, Ebony. Yeah, Max.
Just wanted to tack on, big enjoyer of the chicken and vermicelli noodle salad. My question is, I've kind of jumped around a little bit here, but the engagement report's included in yours, so I figured I'd bring it up now. In the engagement reach per outlet Instagram summary, Library Cafe is by far the lowest reached outlet by a lot, it looks like. But in the commercial report later on, it says that net sales in the Library Cafe is actually very high compared to all of our other outlets. So I'm just wondering, why is that the case? How's the Library Cafe performing so well when promotion and engagement isn't reaching as many people?
I'll have to take that offline. I can't speak intelligently to the correlation between the two or the lack of correlation between the two. I have noted, though, just increased levels of actual on-site engagement at all our cafes. I think we've had new management at the Library Cafe too, which I think it's got to be recognised, the work that they're doing down there. Again, focusing on that product range. They've brought in new products such as ice creams and others, and really focused on engaging with their and creating a following for themselves down there. Library Cafe for the past few years has been a really challenging outlet for the Guild since the refurbishment of the library and the relocation. They've had steady management. Again, with the restructure, they've had additional management focus. But I can't talk to the in any meaningful way to the relationship between the Reach and the.
Okay, any other further questions or comments? Yeah, go for it, Vivi. Yep.
I just want to ask, what's your measurement of the engagement for each cafe? Like, what's the metric?
Again, I'm not 100% sure. I can take that on notice and get back to you. If I could just grab your contact details at the end of the meeting, I'll chat with my engagement team so that I give you an accurate response.
Okay. Thank you, Vernon. Any other further questions or comments about Vernon's report? No? Okay, we'll head to a vote that, well, I suppose someone needs to move that. No? We just need someone to move that the Guild Council approves Vernon's report. Yeah.
Okay, I move a motion that the Guild Council approves the reports of the Managing Director.
Cool. Thank you, Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Ebony. I believe Nor and Ebony, you don't wish to speak to that. Mover and seconder. No. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried. Now we will move to item 6, business on notice 6.1, safety report. We have a motion that the Guild Council notes the safety report moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Ebony. Nor, as the mover, would you like to speak to the motion? No. Ebony, would you like to speak to it as a seconder?
There was a question on the safety report before. If we could go back to that.
Oh, yes. 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 Just following it goes to remove a seconder and then sort of anyone else who wants to speak.
As long as the question gets asked, that's fine.
Yeah, of course. So yes. Yeah, thank you, Ebony. I think the question now.
Thank you. So my question was, from the report I saw that safety inspection completion dropped from 100% in November to 50% in January. So I was wondering if there has been any measures taken now to ensure that inspections are completed on time and safety risks aren't missed in future. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So just to put that in context to my understanding of it, the movement from 100 to 50% is that 2 inspections weren't done. One was because we had an outgoing manager, Beck, who, it was mentioned earlier, just had a really busy month handing over and preparing. So that was an extraordinary set of circumstances why that one was missed. And also the library, GC Library Cafe, because of the limited opening hours. But having said that, I've shared with the management to ensure that they oversee those inspections are being completed in February. Moving forward, to the best of our ability, we'll ensure that those inspections are done. That doesn't necessarily mean that there was a safety risk inherent in that. It's just that those reviews weren't submitted. But yeah, we've reiterated that at a management level too, and I've gone back to managers to make sure that they're across those.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other further comments or questions regarding the safety report? Dylan.
I refer to the student kitchen microwaves. I know all the microwaves are out at the moment. Can you give us an update as to the review into the cabinetry? And the microwaves themselves, I guess.
Yeah, so the microwaves themselves are not an issue. It's about, I think the design was more focused on form than function. And so whilst they looked neat, tidy and tight lines, the space behind them to allow heat to escape is an issue. I know the design was going to be reviewed in terms of expanding those spaces to enable appropriate heat. I haven't had an update on that, but I will get that offline and get that back to you.
Thank you. Dylan, go for it again. Yep.
It's about the cracking at GC Central again. Is there any further on that?
Yeah, there is further. We have made a request and they said they were going to provide a response. They were having another look at it. This being they being the university. It was reviewed last year and deemed to be safe and not a concern, but we've asked for that because until we get any kind of indication that there is a risk, I propose that not feature on our safety report until it needs to. So I checked with our safety officer last week who advised that there is a request in motion and they're waiting for a reply from Curtin, who is going to get an engineer to inspect it again.
Okay. Always known Curtin to take their sweet time in replying. Yes, Dylan?
Just around the 4 or 5. Was it 4? Yeah, 4 sort of injuries, near misses or hazards. Is there any sort of, is this an abnormal number? I know it's a multiple month sort of report. Just noting that there's 4 sort of there. Is it abnormal? Is what's being done to sort of prevent that moving forward?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a number that we're not obviously content with. So what our safety officer and Tanya, who's our head of commercial retail, I've asked them, because they're concentrated in our retail outlets, to consider whether face-to-face, so all of our staff do online safety training and that's all registered and up to date. But I've also asked them to contemplate whether face-to-face on-site training might add some value to it. And I've asked them to consider whether these are just, coincidental that they've occurred in the same period, or whether we do believe that there's a need for further enhanced training. So that's underway.
Are they, what do we do around footwear from site? I know 2 of these as slippages. Obviously, if there's something wet on the floor, that's a hazard. It needs to be solved. But what are the requirements around were these staff wearing appropriate footwear? Were they provided with that guidance? That's kind of, if I see a slip, I'm just thinking is a process is being followed here?
Yeah, I can't confirm what processes. My understanding is that they would be required to wear appropriate closed-in footwear to work, and I would assume that is being followed, but I can't speak specifically to any of them specific.
All right, Dylan, any further questions? Okay,
Sorry,
go for it, Dylan.
Can we ask, just as in the top one here outlines the dates for the Guild injury. This is around the individual at Gmart. Could we get sort of, just particularly for reports like this where it covers multiple months, maybe an outline of roughly when it occurred? I don't know around privacy whether we want to go into particular dates. I'd defer to you on that. But if these all happen, say, within 1 week, that might be different to if it occurred over the course of 3 months. Some dates might be handy for us.
Sure. Yeah, I'll have those added to the report.
That's it.
All right. Any further questions or comments relating to the safety report? No. Okay. We'll then move to a vote, which is a motion that the Guild Council notes the safety report. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried. Now move to item 6.2, the finance report. We have a motion that the Guild Council notes the finance report, moved by Noor. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Ebony. Noor as mover, would you like to speak to Ebony as seconder? No. Any other questions or queries relating to the finance report? No, I did have one question. Just in the statement of financial performance, it says that just for the month to date that we have a commercial operating deficit of 101,000 compared to a budgeted surplus of 109,000. I didn't see a specific reason outlined as to why that difference is, 210,000 under what we expected. I'm not sure whether there's a particular reason or explanation for that.
So can you repeat that again, please? David?
Just on the second page of the finance report, under statement of financial performance, under the month to date for the month of December, it says this result comprises the following, and the second dot point says a commercial operating deficit of 101,000 compared to a budgeted surplus of 109,000. So that's sort of a difference of 210,000.
Yeah, I understand the question now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. I don't know what the reasoning for that is, but I can get back to you on that.
Thank you. Any other further questions or comments regarding this? Yeah, Vivi? What's the finance report? Sorry, not safety report.
There was, I'm not too sure if this is like large in terms of like finance reports, but the difference between the wage expenses, what are the reasons for that? Because I'd expect the wages, like this category, to be a bit more predictable.
In terms of the overall dashboard at the top, where we're talking about the $197,000 variance to wage expense, is really around positions that were budgeted for that were just not filled, not able to be filled. So we had a student assist support officer that was conditional on being able to have office space that I know there was attempts to try to find that office space, so that wasn't filled. There were other roles that were made vacant and the timing to fill those. So it's largely around that. And then there's a variance in casual wages. So one of the commercial, one of the strategies coming out of our commercial review was to really strategically look at how we roster and crew staff on outlet. So there was savings in casual wages by design, but largely it'll be vacancies that have a longer lead time to fill. All new positions when budgeted are assumed to be filled at January 1 of the budget year. It's, for example, as you will see this year, our general manager positions, which are executive positions, are now, one's been filled in February, mid-Feb, and one will be filled in late March. They were budgeted to be paid from January 1. So you will get that lag time. And then should you have movements from existing staff and recruitment, there's generally gaps there too. So
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the mindset behind that is you want to sort of over budget rather than under budget where possible if it's a particular wages expense, because you always want to make sure you've got that covered. Is that right?
that's correct. That's the conservative way of budgeting. You can always redeploy savings to other areas. You can't claw back under budgeted expenditure, and it leads to potential impact on frontline services because you have to restrain your spending come the end of the year.
Thank you, Vernon.
If I can.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Not too sure if I misheard, but you mentioned something about the casual rates and stuff, and like a new strategy. Is that like a new strategy to save money, or?
It's a new strategy to ensure we have appropriate levels of staffing at our outlets, not excessive, not understaffing, appropriate levels of staffing. So when we look at how we roster and the time we roster staff, there were potential efficiencies and to be made. So we've taken those.
Thank you. Any further questions regarding the finance report? No, we'll move to a vote that the Guild Council notes the finance report. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried. We'll now move to item 6.3, the National Union of Students KPIs for 2026. We have a motion that the Guild Council approve the 2026 National Union of Students Key Performance Indicators and initial affiliation fee of $45,000 as recommended by the Representation Board. Moved by Dylan, seconded by Morgan. Dylan, as mover, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yep. Probably need to find another seconder, don't we? It's a long meeting. Yeah, Morgan's not here. Yep. Do you want to do that now or?
Sure. Can I get a seconder? Thanks, Max. Now, Dylan, as mover, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Chair.
No worries.
This is essentially for new councillors. The National Union of Students is the national representative body of student unions around the country. The Guild has been a member of the National Union of Students since the NUS first started, which is a very long time ago. And we wish to continue remaining a member because ultimately the NUS does speak on behalf of students and is engaged with a number of government processes and has a significant amount of history and institutional sort of recognition as a body that does fight for students. Ultimately, the idea behind KPIs being established is that whilst we want the NUS to be that organisation that does adequately represent Curtin students on a national level and is an organisation that is well governed, sometimes, very often, the NUS does not live up to those full expectations. The KPI process is one whereby the Reps Board endorses a set of KPIs. That's a maximum amount of affiliation. So that means that if all of the KPIs are met, we will affiliate for this amount of money. That's sort of as a result of a budgetary process. In this year's budget, we have $50,000 set aside for student union fees. That also needs to cover our affiliation for the Council of Australian Postgraduate Associations. And potentially other organisations. I think we're making inquiries as to whether we join the new International Student Representative Council and what that looks like as well, or we will be in the coming weeks. Essentially, we want to make these decisions in line with our budget. We can't use SAF money on them. So in the past, they've come out of our savings. As we turn around our commercial outlets, I think that puts us in a position where we look a little bit stronger at what we can offer. But this is essentially where we're at. There's a modest $5,000 increase in the initial affiliation amount from $40,000 last year to $45,000 this year. There's some adjustments in penalty amounts back to 2024 levels, and there's an additional new KPI regarding NUS communication with Curtin University management. What happens is once these KPIs are endorsed by council, they will be communicated via the secretary to the NUS's secretary, and we'll go from there. As you can see, I don't think anything in there is super controversial as a KPI. It effectively just highlights that we want the NUS to advocate for Curtin students. We want the NUS to be an organisation that is well run and professional and represents us on a national stage and doesn't cause problems for us, but actively supports us as well. That's kind of where we're at on that. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Dylan. Max, as seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I think Dylan covered pretty much all of it.
Cool. Any other further comments or anyone else like to further speak to this motion? Tani?
A $5,000 increase, so quite modest, is quite steep. If you're going with a 7% inflation sort of marker, that would only be about a $3,500 increase. So how are we feeling, and are we think the NUS would continue projecting at that sort of increase rate per year?
Yeah, so it depends. It depends on whether or not they reach that they abide by the KPIs as to what we actually end up sending them as well. But yeah, absolutely. I think that what we did last year was it was decreased down. And I think that we've seen some positive steps between the last national conference and now around the NUS's internal governance and how the current General Secretary is running the show. So I think that needs to be there. So yeah, I mean, it very well could be higher than what the inflation is at. I think when you consider where we were at, we've gone through a period of decreasing NUS funding. I think we've started to see some green shoots. So I think then there's that incentive side as well. The important thing to note is that the NUS will send us a bill and our sort of calculated affiliation rate, which will be around the $80,000 mark. So this is still a significant reduction off of that. But I think we should have the ambition as a guild to have enough confidence in the NUS and have enough confidence in our own financial capacity to at some point in the future be able to accredit and affiliate for that full amount. Ultimately, that's going to take a little bit of working through and bedding down, and hopefully what we've seen continues to work. But we'll be back here again in a few months when we, well, quite a few months, but when we evaluate where the NUS is at and where we're at. But if we're at a position where we're genuinely paying $45,000 at the end of the year, I think that would be a good sign for the student union movement, and I would welcome it. But if we don't, we need to be willing to stand behind these KPIs and make those deductions.
Thank you, Dylan. Any further comments or speakers or questions about the motion? No, we'll move to a vote that we approve those KPIs and the initial affiliation fee of $45,000 as recommended by the Representation Board. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried. Now we'll move to item 7, which is the minutes of committees reporting to Guild Council. So there are 5 sets of minutes there. And we have a motion that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the committees reporting to the Guild Council, moved by Noor, seconded by Dylan. Noor, would you like to speak to the motion as mover? No. Dylan, would you like to speak to it as seconder? No. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah, Max?
Just some questions about Finance and Risk Committee. I know we had a scheduled meeting and it ended up not being quorum. As Secretary, do you have any plans put in place to ensure that future meetings are not only for Finance and Risk, but for all other subcommittees are quorum and the members are notified and come in?
No.
Yep, so I think that meeting was not quote due to some of us not being in the state, things like that. Maybe just making the communication process for apologies a bit more strict and planning a meeting immediately after.
Thank you. Yep, Vivi?
I just want to add, I'd say that meetings planning and scheduling was not the best, not so like generally, but because personally I didn't have my guild email access yet. So, and that's the only way I know of for like meetings to be notified. So because of the one-way notification and then the lack of that, then it prevented my attendance.
No.
Yeah, so we've been having an issue internally at the guild with passwords not being able to be reset. So, or they just, passwords become inactive or invalid immediately after. So it's something I was working with George to mitigate. If you have any issues with your passwords or getting into your account or access, just come in and it's easier to reset it there, or message me personally with your personal email to my secretary account and we can come to a conclusion a lot easier. So no, it's not ideal.
Cool. Any other further questions? Chris? Okay, cool. So we'll just move to a vote that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the committees reporting to the Guild Council. All those in favour? All those against? That motion is carried. We'll now move to item 8, general business. So first, item 8.1 is ideas and suggestions. Are there any ideas or suggestions? Planning Guild Council or Guild? No, great. We'll move to item 8.2, other business. Is there any other business? Yes, Emily? In the mergers, is that, yeah. Dylan?
So I will move that the meeting goes in camera.
Can I get a seconder?
Oh, and Marianne and Vernon are welcome to stay.
Okay, so the motion is
Yeah,
that we
we move in camera, Marianne.
move in
Vernon.
camera and that Marianne and Vernon are allowed to be present. Seconded by Tani. Dylan and Tani, you don't wish to speak on the motion, I assume. Thank you. Can we go for vote? All those in favour? All those against, that motion's carried. Now move in camera, so I'll stop the recording.